we made sure not to wear our coats this time at the start of it.
Right.
Doesn't matter. The warmer it gets outside, already it's really sweet.
It really is.
It's my mistake too, wearing the shirt that's just on fire. This isn't gonna keep me cool at all.
So you're the reason it's so warm.
It's the new challenge. Can you review this movie while engulfed in flames? Can I? Challenge accepted. Well, you can never count Eddie Murphy out and having a comeback.
And he'll bring his friends with him.
Yeah. The 90s with Nutty Professor, and then briefly there with Dreamgirls, and then Dolomite Is My Name a year or two ago, and now after the success of that, here we have the sequel to Coming to America from the director of Dolomite Is My Name. So Eddie, and I love it whenever there's an Eddie Murphy comeback, because Eddie Murphy was a guy who was kind of my introduction into stand-up comedy when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Everyone talks about, those albums that they'd have, or they'd listen to them in secret, and things like that. When Raw came out, man.
Oh, really? For me, it was Delirious.
I do Delirious too.
Yeah.
Raw I heard before, saw before Delirious, but I didn't really have to watch those in secret, really, because my parents were also huge into Eddie Murphy, and I wore out tapes on bless you, on I said bless you, so clearly holy man. Kidding. 48 Hours, Beverly Hills Cop, Trading Places. Coming to America is one that I remember really liking as a kid.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I hadn't seen it in 25, 30 years, maybe.
Yeah.
So many of them I've watched on repeat ever since. Like I said, Beverly Hills Cop 2, 48 Hours, a lot of those classics.
Yeah.
Coming to America, for whatever reason, man, boy, did it take me some decades to rewatch it again. And I did a week ago, and you said...
I meant to, and I forgot to. I was busy. I was actually working my ass off all week, so,
Likely excuse. Why can't you be like me, where you're like, dude, I was busy. I had to watch Home Improvement all day.
I wish that was the reason. I wish.
You say that, but then you gotta binge watch Fuller House. Well, even then, I guess.
Right.
At the end of the day, you're still ordering a bunch of food and watching TV all day.
Right.
Well, so last weekend, because I got the world's laziest job, so last weekend, I had time to watch Coming to America again. But you still pointed out during this where you were like, "Oh, that was from the first one."
Yeah, there were a few. There were a few little things that happened in the original movie that I remember, but I just. Man, it was just so long ago. Because there were a few times where I had to ask you for a refresher. Didn't they do that in the first one?
They did. And that first one, man, was it still funny. Laura had never seen it before. Laura had never seen it before, and she really dug it. And I was watching it again, and just in the first 5 minutes alone, I'm laughing my ass off. Through the whole movie, I was, the first film. And when Ralph Bellamy and Don Amici show up from it's the brothers from Trading Places, I had forgotten they had a cameo in that. Laura had never seen Trading Places before, so she's like, what the hell? When they showed up, I'm like, oh, they're the bad guys in Trading Places. That reminds me, we should watch Trading Places sometime. It's really great. I did want a refresher. And also, regardless of this movie coming out this weekend on Amazon Prime, it was good to just go back and watch the first one again. So, like I said, man, did I still laugh my ass off in that first movie. There was so much just genuinely funny parts, really lovable characters, just a really, really sweet movie that, dear God, absolutely holds up. Sorry, I don't mind the cement truck coming in here to maybe muffle out what I'm about to say next, which is this movie Coming to America, which coming the number 2 America will get very confusing if you just say that and not reading the title.
Right.
What kind of emphasis do you have on the word 2 right there? You talk about the first one or the sequel, so most people will just say Coming to America 2. I thought this movie was really, 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 really bad. No, dude.
Like really, really, really bad? Like okay, go on.
You can always tell how much I hate a movie when I have a big space between I and hated. I hated this movie.
Damn.
And I'm pausing again right now too. That's how you can tell I really don't like something.
Damn.
When I say I hated this movie and then do one of these. Like, ever since I've started editing these videos and putting clips in, I'm picking up on my tics a little bit more. I can really tell when I'm just kind of flabbergasted about how much a movie is really, really, really not working for me.
Well, then let me underscore this review by saying I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
I didn't I fully enjoy it, but I didn't hate it. That's why your reaction just struck me back. I'm like, oh, you hated this movie?
Yes, I did. This movie is made for the one person who's going to unironically say, it's the best sequel since Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles.
Damn.
No, So the first one, like I said, I was talking about how much that first one holds up, and it really, really, really does.
Yeah.
You could watch that movie, whether it's 1988 or 2021. This movie is going to be dated by the time we finish this goddamn review.
I agree with that.
Between all of the first one is one of those gloriously 80s comedies that, again, hold up and you can still get a lot of laughs at. This movie is very, 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 very 2021, which means it sucks.
Yeah.
Which means there's so much stuff in it that is wildly topical. Between a lot of slang that they're using, like within the first 5 minutes, a whole thing about being on fleek, and references to the Kardashians and various kinds of jokes that they're making in this, from the villains in the movie being from the neighboring country of Nextdoria.
Right.
To James Earl Jones also voicing their news network called ZNN.
Right.
This is ZNN. To the ZNN host, who is Trevor Noah. To cameos all over the goddamn place in this. A funeral sequence, which has Salt and Pepper coming out in there, and also and you've got Gladys Knight sings, instead of Midnight Train to Georgia, Midnight Train to Zamunda. This movie is like when you
catch that.
Yeah, this movie is like when you have a lot of people you really like, a lot of characters you really like, a lot of artists and musicians you really like coming together for this reunion, where unfortunately all the jokes seem like they're written by the unfunny uncle at Thanksgiving who thinks he's hilarious and drops this horrible dad joke, and it's gonna be like, I should really get into stand-up comedy. It's shot and acted not like a sequel, but like when you see a bad comedy sketch that's using the same characters.
Yeah.
That's what this is shot and what it feels like. Because so many of these characters just drift in and out of this. Arsenio Hall feels like he's barely in this. Lisa, the queen, barely has anything to do with what's going on in this movie. Feels as important to this as Kelly did on that reboot of Saved by the Bell that just came out. She just drifts in and out of this movie. Mostly it's on the son, and Eddie's good in it, of course, but even then it feels like what he has to do in this movie is relatively thin, except for repeating a lot of things from the first movie, a lot of cameos from the first movie, and that's it. I found it a really depressing sit. Just unpleasant. More so than that Wrong Turn thing we watched, because Wrong Turn was I really loved that.
Wrong Turn was really good.
That was supposed to be unpleasant. This is the bad kind of unpleasant. I mean, when I say good kind of unpleasant with Wrong Turn, I mean that, like, oh yeah, it's supposed to look unpleasant with people getting their eyes gouged out in this horror film.
Yeah, Yeah, but I mean the experience of watching a really good horror film.
Yeah, the experience was great. That's what I mean. That was the good kind of unpleasant, because it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable watching it. This, no, it's supposed to be this feel-good comedy where I'm just rolling my eyes through this goddamn thing and watching a lion lay down and fart at the screen.
Right. Okay, so here's where I got a contrast, because the thing is, you make a lot of really good points, especially about the eye rolling at all the dad jokes and the lion farting and everything. You're right. Mm-hmm. I still found this movie very endearing. I've still found this movie cute at times. You know, you got the king who's like trying to uphold traditions of his country and everything, but also try to be a good dad to his wife and his daughters and everything. And I did. I found that stuff, like, you know, you're like, I guess I don't know. I bought into the whole feel good comedy thing.
I didn't. I just thought it was pandering.
That being said, there were a lot of really bad jokes in this, and it was just kind of like you said, it was eye rolling, face palming. Just
I didn't laugh once. There was not one laugh I had in this movie. Not one single chuckle. Not even ironically. Not even like that joke was so bad I gotta kind of laugh and scoff. Not even that. I sat there silently watching this movie. I didn't find it endearing. Like I thought this is endearing, like a drunk brother-in-law at a wedding toast who just starts talking about Nazis out of nowhere. Like, I couldn't stand this. And for this movie to have the balls to have a scene in there where they start, like, talking about sequels.
Right. Right. They literally broke the fourth wall in this scene.
And in the first one, they look at the camera a couple times and things like that, which they repeat in this one. Where they just start talking about remakes and reboots and sequels. That works if this movie is any good. What they're talking about in this, about like sequels that aren't anything compared to the original and tarnish the original's memory. You got no business putting that line in this movie.
Right, because what you're doing is just basically self-deprecating your own movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. This sequel was definitely not as good as the original.
No.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. This is for the one fan of Coming to America who's going to be like, oh, thank God it's PG-13.
Right.
Like the one guy who 20 years ago was like, oh, thank God Major League 2 is only PG.
I did not like all of the nudity and bad language in the original.
It's a family picture.
It's a family picture.
Yeah, man. And it's not even... It's so weird. I love Dolomite Is My Name, which is the same director as this movie. And Wesley Snipes is in this one, too, who is... with Eddie in Dolomite Is My Name. And this movie doesn't even look that... It really does look like just kind of a comedy sketch, because you've got so many scenes that are supposed to be outdoors, but are very clearly green screen. The bad effects on the lion that look like that Vanguard movie that we watched a couple of months ago.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, if that was supposed to be a CGI lion, the Vanguard movie lion was badly CGI'd.
It did look worse.
Yeah.
But this still looked bad. and this just and when that happens in a movie like this, it's another one of those things to serve as a reminder of how much better made the first movie was.
Oh yeah.
And how much, and even right down to the plot in this, to the fact that it's about Eddie finding out he has a son, which he has a son because back during the first movie, there's a part which we don't see. They redo it in this with some de-aging things, where it turns out Lisa's not the only person he slept with. he has a son because Leslie Jones drugged him and raped him.
Yeah.
Like, okay, but... And then he proceeds to get shit about this through the movie from his wife.
Right.
Like, how could you hide these surprises for me? Like, bitch, I was raped. And, like, what is with this sudden trend between this movie and Wonder Woman 84 that just came out and that really bad David Spade Netflix, or the Wrong Missy or whatever it was called? Like, God.
Yeah, I was going to say, so what grade would you give it then?
I'm not going to give it an F. Because, I mean, Eddie is good,
yeah.
like, and you can tell when Eddie Murphy's sleepwalking through something. You can. I love Eddie Murphy to death. He's one of my favorites. But he is one of those actors who you can really tell when he's sleepwalking through a movie. That wasn't the case with this. Like, this felt like, you know, he really liked doing this and being back with these characters and doing some of these characters again. But boy, is it just to say that this doesn't hold a candle to the first one is an understatement.
Yeah.
Hardcore is it? I'd give this a D-.
D-?
Yeah, there was nothing I found funny about it. Nothing at all. There was never a point in this movie where I was like, oh my God, thank God they made this. This is just your stereotypical bad comedy sequel in that it's not funny, it's wildly pandering, it repeats a lot of the same plots and jokes but does it way more lazy. Yeah, I couldn't stand this. I really couldn't. What about you? B+.
Not quite. Now see me. Okay, so again, I agree with a lot of your points. I did, however, it got me. There were moments where it got me, where like, I'm not gonna lie. Whenever they were like, uppity bitch says what? And the person would actually, like, you know, fall for it. I'm like, ah! Yeah. Damn it, am I a sucker for that?
No, I get it.
Damn it, am I a sucker for that? And you're right. There was a lot of rehashing. There was a lot of recycled jokes, and it really didn't work out very well. But I did dig the overall message. I did dig the overall plot. I dug. So I didn't see My Name Is Dolomite. So
that was a great movie.
So like this was my first time seeing. This was my first time seeing Wesley Snipes and Arsenio Hall in something in a long time.
Sure.
So I was just all like, "Hey,
yeah,
an old friend from way back when," you know. So I gotta give this. A C.
A C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. It wasn't a good movie, but it was decent.
Sure. Yeah, I just couldn't, like, as much as I tried, like, I don't know where it reached a point with me where I was like, I'm going to keep hating this movie, but somewhere early on it did. It did. And believe I did not go into this wanting to dislike this movie. I really didn't. I'm really not one of those people who instantly just writes off something that's a revival of something that's 30 years old. I'm not. I do look for. I'm looking forward to seeing what they'll be doing with this new Frasier that they're going to be making. I'm an optimist when it comes to movies and revivals and things like that. I am. I want them to be good if you're bringing these characters back, especially someone like Eddie Murphy, who's someone I've admired since I was a kid. So I did not go into this with any kind of cynical attitude about sequels. No, not at all. That being said, I hated this movie. But I tried. I really did. Right. I did. I genuinely hated this movie.
Sure.
Well, we've got a few more movies to get to.
Yes.
We got more movies to get to. One of them's another revival of a horror film, another based off of a cartoon series. And what else are we watching? Oh, well, I guess Raya and the Last Dragon might be original. I don't know. I'm hot because of the movie and the car. I need to go cool off for a while.
I have that effect on people.
And I'm just wildly turned on right now. All right, take care. See ya.